Hello, P6. For today's maths activity, we're going to begin with a mental maths task. And for today, we're going to think about our next door numbers. Now, you've probably done these before in class, but just in case you can't remember what to do, let's have a look at the worksheet. So for our mental maths starter, what we're going to do is begin by adding together the numbers on the bottom row of our grid. So if our bottom grid line of the grid has 15 and 17, then 15 add 17 is 32. So we write 32 in the box above. Then we add 17 and 17. So what's 17 add 17? Well, 10 add 10 is 20. 7 and 7 is 14. So 20 add 14, that's going to be 34. 17 add 20. Well, 20 add 10 is 30. Add 7 more is 37. So I've added together the numbers in the bottom row and written the answer above. Now I need to add together these numbers. So 32 add 34. Well, 30 and 30 is 60. 4 and 2 is 6, so I've got 66 to go in there. 34 add 37. Well, 30 add 30 is 60. 4 add 7 is 11, so 60 add 11, that's going to be 71. And now I need to work out what number is going to go in the top spot. So 66 add 71. 6 tens and 7 tens, 13 tens, so that's 130, 136, 137. So the top spot in that one is going to be 137. On the website, there are 2 levels of this activity for you to have, for you to choose from. So choose whichever one you want to have a go at as your mental maths starter. Once you've done that, today's main activity is all going to be about factors. And today we're going to revise something that we learnt back in term 1, which was all about factors. Now, what can you remember about factors? Well, hopefully you remember that factors are all about dividing. And hopefully you remember they're all about dividing, but there's not allowed to be any remainders. No remainders when we're looking at factors. Factors, well, we're thinking about a number that we can divide exactly into another whole number. So if I wanted to think about the factors of 12, what I'm looking for are the numbers that I can divide 12 by without having any sort of remainder. Now, I start off by thinking, well, 12, what can 12 be divided by? Well, every number can be divided by 1, and 12 divided by 1 is 12. Every number can also be divided by the number itself. So 12 can be divided by 12. So 12 divided by 12 is 1. But what else can 12 be divided by? Well, 12 can be divided by 2 because we know that 12 divided by 2 is 6. What else can 12 be divided by? Yep, it can be divided by 6. 12 divided by 6 equals 2. Take the same numbers, turn it around. What else can 12 be divided by? Well, you're right, it's in the 3 times table as well. So 12 can be divided by 3, and that gives me the answer 4. And if 12 can be divided by 3 and I get the answer 4, then 12 can also be divided by 4, and that will give me the answer 3. So what are the factors of 12? Well, the factors of 12 are the numbers that I can divide it by. So I can divide it by 1, I can divide it by 12, I can divide it by 2, I can divide it by 6, I can divide it by 3, and I can divide it by 4. What I can't do is divide it by 5, because if I did 12 divided by 5, well, I would end up with a remainder. So 5 is not going to be a factor of 12. Let's have a go at another one. So what if we looked at, this time, let's think about the factors of 20. What can 20 be divided by without having any remainders? Well, I suppose the easiest ones to start with, every number can be divided by 1. So 20 divided by 1 is 20, and every number can be divided by the number itself. So 20 divided by 20 is 1. What else can 20 be divided by? Yep, it's in the 10 times table, isn't it? So it can be divided by 10. 20 divided by 10 equals 2. And it's an even number. And because it's an even number, all even numbers can be divided by 2. So 20 divided by 2 equals 10. What else? Oh, it's in the 5 times table, isn't it? So 20 divided by 5 is 4. And I can turn that factor around. 20 divided by 4 equals 5. So if I wanted to know the factors of 20, then I could say that the factors of 20 are 1, 10, 5, 20, 2, and 4. Now, for your activity today, P6, we are going to think about some factor bugs. And you might remember doing an activity like this last term. We're going to make factor bugs for all of these numbers. And the first number we've got is 32. So we're going to think, what can I divide 32 by? Now, do you remember what to do? So what we did was we drew a body and we drew a head. And absolutely, you can give the head a smiley face. And we thought, what can 32 be divided by? Well, we know that every number can be divided by 1 and every number can be divided by the number itself. So 32. What else can 32 be divided by? Well, 32, it's part of the 2 times table, isn't it? Because it's an even number. So 32 divided by 2. Now, if you need to, find a space and do the working out. So 32 divided by 2. Oh, 16, isn't it? So 32 can be divided by 2 and I get 16. But that means 32 divided by 16 makes 2. What else can 32 be divided by? Think about your tables. Yep, it's in the 4 times table, isn't it? 32 can be divided by 4 and 32 divided by 4 is 8. So the factors of 32 are 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 4 and 8. What about the factors of 17? Okay, so let's turn this one into a factor bug. Every number can be divided by 1. Every number can be divided by the number itself. Now, what else can 17 be divided by? Well, it's not in the 2 times table. Can't divide it by 3 or 4. I can't divide it by 5 or 6. Actually, there are no other numbers that I can divide that by. Can you remember then what we call it? What type of number is it if I can only divide it by 1 or the number itself? Well, you're right, it's called a prime number. Prime numbers are numbers whose only factors are the number 1 and the number itself. So 17 is a prime number because I can only divide it by 1 and 17. What about the factors of 6? Well, of course, I can divide it by 1. I can divide it by 6. It's an even number, so I can divide it by 2. And 6 divided by 2 is 3, which means that 6 divided by 3 makes 2. Now, those are the first 3 questions done. You today are going to get a choice of 3 worksheets. Okay, so you could choose the higher level one, or you could choose to do the middle ability question, or you could choose to do the lower ability question. No matter which one you choose to do, they all begin with the same 3 questions. And at the side of the page or at the bottom of the page, there are some notes to help you get started. Some things, though, I would like you to think about. A few things to remember, and these are on the website as well. Don't forget, if you know that you can divide a number by 4, you can also divide it by 2 because it's an even number. If you can divide by 6, then you can also divide it by 2. But 6 is also part of the 3 times table. So if I can divide a number by 6, I can also divide it by 3. If I can divide a number by 8, I can divide it by 4 and 2 as well. If I can divide it by 9, I can also divide it by 3. If I can divide it by 10, it can also be divided by 5 and by 2. And if it's an answer in the 12 times table, it can also be divided by 6, 4, 3 and 2. As well as the number itself, of course, and the number 1. So those are some things to think about today as you revise your factors. Once you get all of that done, your final activity for today is another reasoning activity, all based on division. See if you can do that. P6, it was lovely to see so many of you join us yesterday afternoon for Playing Live on Education City. So again today at 2 o'clock, why don't you log into Education City and join us for some more Play Live games. We'll see you then.